Okay, well, hello everyone. So this is my first, making sure my sound is okay, my first show with the new camera. So far, I'm happy with it. I need to have Wayne come down here and adjust where it's auto-focusing at a little bit better because I had to do that like myself, getting up and down. I'm looking at the viewfinder there, but so far, so good. Maybe a little bit too good. I need some makeup, you know what I mean? Ladies, you know what I mean? Now, you all may remember my internet crapped out last week in the middle of doing this exact show. So I decided I'm just going to do it over. Those of you who watched it for the first 20 minutes or so last time before it crapped out, well, you're going to get to hear some repeats because I thought it was a good enough topic out of this old LP news that we would go over it again. Why not? And it was a good show to test out on. So that means, Mike Seebeck, you're getting this Logitech that I was using, so you won't have to use your laptop camera anymore. Hopefully it works and is compatible with yours. I'll get that sent out when I can, but I need to wait for like an Amazon box or something to pack it in. And you need to text me your address. Okay. Oh, so we're on. Sorry. Look, a bird. We are on LP News, March, April 1977. I actually like leaning back a little and having my mic here. Is that good? Yeah, that's good. All right. So before we get started, I am a bit distracted right now. Why isn't my scenes screen coming up? Hold on one second. Window. I'm looking for scenes. Those of you who use... Oh, did I move it way over here? No, I didn't. This is very strange because I wanted to put up my little graphics here for... You all just going to have to bear with me here as I figure out what's going on. Oh, scenes. Duh, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for overlays. There we go. Okay. Yes, I'm not quite a boomer, but I'm acting very boomer this evening. What I wanted to put up was the support graphics. I did get another patron the other day. I am so appreciative of that. Your support of the work I do helps me continue to do it. This week I will be doing a pre-recorded show. Now that I got an actual mirrorless camera, I might try to use my teleprompter again for pre-recorded only. You'll always get the raw, spontaneous me for live shows, but that way I'm not doing a million takes. Those of you who don't do video, so I think I've said this to you guys before, but I just find it so funny. So particularly my Pink Parliamentarian and Jurassic Park episodes. I have a script that I look down at and I memorize a paragraph of it and then I say it, but then I freeze right in that same position, look down, read the next paragraph, and then continue from that frozen position so that the jump cuts aren't quite as obvious. So when you make a mistake, and I'm very hand gesture, so I make a mistake and I'm like this, and then I got to stop, try to keep my face frozen, wait a few moments for future editing me to be able to splice the two together. Anyway, that's some behind the scenes tips. So let's go to the issue. Whoa. See, I need to double click to hit a camera source here because this is a new camera. I need to hit my cam link. There we go. See, look, it even worked. On the fly, it worked. Okay, how do I get that screen off, though? I don't know how to get that off my screen. Oh, well, there we go. Just needed to click somewhere else on the screen. So we're going to go, as I do, in case you want to go to Lpedia and read this LP news for yourself, what we're going to be going through today is one of the pieces of LP Gears Up to Fight Carter proposals, because there was so-called election reform going on at that time. I'm going to my Stream Deck here so I can go through some of these pages. There was so-called election reform at that time. And, you know, election reform is usually code word for how can we screw third parties, or how can we use coercion even more than we already do. Okay, so the next page, we noticed this last time. There's a chair candidate up there. Look at that 1970s bow she has on, but gorgeous lady. Oh, wanted to go back a page. Look at the Libertarian Health Association. I bet the current Libertarian Medical Freedom Caucus would be interested in the history of that. And here is an ad for the 6th annual National LP Convention in San Francisco. And we're just flipping through the pages here. Oh, last time, yeah, we did go through this convention order form because I wanted to see what the most expensive packet was. And I have all my pages mixed up from last time. The most expensive package was $95. But that was probably a lot of money, as I said, for that time. And I know we had some conventions that were like 5 days. This was July 14th through the 17th. So it was 1 day longer than we normally have them now. We normally have them 3 days now. 14, 15, 16. That was 4 days back then. Okay. Next page. Oh my God. Look at these 1970s pictures. Always get me going. And there's all your affiliate news. And one thing I wanted to bring up, if you remember, the last, was it January, February 77, there was the Southern Libertarian Conference, I believe it was. Now it's the New England Libertarian Conference. They used to have like these mini conventions that were regional. That didn't last for long, I don't think. This is the first time I'd seen it. We'll see as we go through the years on how long all of this lasts. So that's it for your overview. Let's go back and let me try to find out where we were last time. I know we started on the first page, and we were in Washington, D.C. at that time now. Address of 1516 P Street Northwest. That is somewhere near. I remember when I was walking to the memorial for the second Rage Against the War Machine, there was all those lettered streets. So this has to be around there somewhere. I wish I'd had that address at the time. I would have walked in. Hello, Dave. You were here for, Dave is in chat saying, just tuning in. You were here for the time my internet crapped out. For those of you who want to know why it crapped out, apparently not rebooting your computer for about 4 months isn't a really good idea. 1 star. Do not recommend. My download speed was down to 1, was it Mbps? Like when it's supposed to be like, what, 300 or something like that. That's why everything slowed to a crawl. It wasn't my internet provider, it was my dummy not rebooting my computer. So now when I'm done with every show, I just shut down my computer. So that way I'll remember. What I need to remember when I'm pointing to myself in the viewfinder is to put the lens cap on this new camera when I leave the basement, because it gets very dusty. I have an African gray parrot, and I swear that dust goes everywhere. All right, so let's get right into the alleged election reform that we were all hot and bothered about in 1977. Libertarians, we never get upset about anything. This is so shocking. And in other news, water is wet. So I was on a parliamentary forum the other day. I know, my life is so exciting. And we actually did debate whether water is wet or not. And someone said that water can't get wet. And I go, well, if you have one water molecule, maybe not. But if you have other ones, they're wetting each other. Yes, those are the sort. You think we're arguing about Roberts. We are actually arguing about whether or not water is wet. So now I'm trying to find where the election reform started. So we have new taxes. Why can't I find... Oh, because that's page 8. And I'm a dummy. That's why. It was continued on page 2. Here we go. Alrighty. Electoral reform. Here we go. And I'm going to be doing that. Oh, I told you I was going to be doing... I didn't even tell you what the subject was. A pre-recorded show. It's going to be a little bit about the super annoying misuse of the no true Scotsman fallacy on some of my Twitter posts. Not me using it, of other people thinking that's actually a rebuttal when I'm like... And I don't say this often, and actually when I say it, I don't even actually mean it that way, because I tend not to judge people as whole packages, but you're not a libertarian. Okay, you're a MAGA person, you're not a libertarian. That's okay. Normally, though, I don't do that. I like to deal with ideas and not people, but lately things have just been crazy. Okay, anyway, back. The Carter package for electoral reform consists of 4 related proposals. Abolition of the Electoral College and direct election of the president. And I had mentioned last time, and they are going to confirm it here. Today, we kind of take for granted that libertarians are opposed to, thank you, Richard, that libertarians are opposed to abolishing the Electoral College. And I think most libertarians are. But that is a position that we don't really take a position on. There is a member of the LNC that I know that is in favor of that. That's in favor of the national popular vote. There isn't a definitive libertarian position on that. Of course, as an anarchist, my position is like voting is terrible in and of itself. I think the Electoral College makes it less terrible. But that is an issue we can agree to disagree upon, though I think most libertarians today would not be in favor of the national popular vote. So anyway, continuing. And direct election of the president, universal or instant voter registration, public financing of senatorial and congressional elections, and relaxation of the Hatch Act, which limits partisan political activity by federal employees. Let us take them one at a time and see how they are interrelated. All righty. Abolition of the Electoral College. The Electoral College issue is peripheral to libertarian principles. A lot of people are surprised at that, but it in fact is. The amendment has only a slim chance of passage by state legislatures. By the way, the National Popular Vote Compact, of course it passed Colorado, because we have like one of the shittiest legislatures. Anyway, individual libertarians may take whatever stand they wish, but the national LP is not going to make a major effort on this issue. So we're not doing one thing or another. Public financing. From a libertarian standpoint, the most repugnant of the Carter reform proposals is taxpayer financing of senatorial and congressional election campaigns. These proposals are contained in H.R. 5157 and S9, doesn't matter what the numbers were. The Senate version provides federal election subsidies only to senatorial candidates. The House bill would subsidize office seekers for both the House and Senate. The House bill would subsidize general election campaigns, but not primary campaigns. The Senate bill would subsidize both. Obviously, boo hiss. Now, I say obviously boo hiss, but it's not quite so obvious today. It's funny where most libertarians today probably have a firm stand that they want to keep the Electoral College. They've kind of flipped. The historical LP position, and it's one that I still hold, is that any kind of taxpayer subsidies of elections is a bad thing. Every 4 years we hear, oh, we've got a urban legend, we do not become a major party if we get 5% of the vote. You will hear that every time. Let me give you a news flash. Guess what happens if we get 5%? We become a minor party. We're not even under federal election law a minor party yet. You become major party status with 20%, I think is the percentage. Anyway, everyone's hungry for that, checkbox on the income tax form. Now, there were different qualifications, but both times that Harry Brown ran in 96 and 2000, he qualified for that sweet, sweet government teat money. And you want to know what? He refused it both times, and he said he got more advertising, money's worth of advertising for his refusal to take it than he could have bought if he took it. And you want to know what advertising does? It gets your eyes before voters. It doesn't get to pay staff. It doesn't make the LP a ripe little plum to be pillaged by somebody if we're starting to get this government, filthy lucre in. And hopefully now, everyone thought I was a huge alarmist. I am ranting now. I need to have like a rant warning. We used to think that we weren't even worth being pillaging before, but you see the way some folks, and I'm not questioning intentions here, I'm only talking about results, so this isn't personal. I'm very critical of the results and what's going on with our party, not personally attacking any person, but we are not the Republican farm team. We are not the Republican JV. We completely sold all of our credibility down the river. You think you're going to be making deals with the likes of Donald Trump and stuff. You want to know what? That's a one-shot thing. You can pull that once. It's like the joke. The joke is where somebody offers a lady $1 million, to have a relationship, and then brings it down to 10, and she's like, well, what do you think I am? And he's like, well, we've already established that. We're just negotiating the price now. We've already sold ourselves. So now in the future, it's just going to be negotiating the price. Again, these are metaphors. Some people have problems with me using metaphors before they are metaphors, okay? We did ourselves ugly, and we sold ourselves cheap. And it's not going to work next time. We are the Libertarian Party, not the Republican Party JV. Anyway, to get back to the article, that's a different rant than I did last time. So maybe it was worth tuning in for this time. Okay, so now it continues on page 8. So let me find page 8. Right, here's page 8. Okay. Libertarian objections to public financing and contribution and spending limits are numerous. There is the obvious threat to free speech, and this is what people don't think about. And I'm not trying to irritate all the Georgists in the audience. One day I am going to do a show on my opposition to Georgism. I really don't want to do that because I love you guys, but you're like Bloody Mary, man. You say it once. Now that I've even said Georges once, it is like saying Bloody Mary in the mirror 3 times. Like, I am going to be haunted now. I am going to be haunted by you guys. It's worse than Jehovah's Witnesses at the door. You get what I'm saying. One day I am going to do the Georgism show. But here is a sneak peek. The minute you give government control over anything, or you say that there is collective ownership of something, there is then collective control over it. Why do we... You even hear libertarians making this argument. Well, this business took a government license to operate, so therefore the government gets to say that they cannot have freedom of association, no matter how personally repugnant it would be, where I wouldn't patronize a discriminatory business. As libertarians, we believe that people have the right to do that. They have the right to promptly go out of business as well, but not have the government force them. And that's what happens every time you let the government stick its dirty fingers in. And that is one of my pragmatic objections to Georgism. But it does tie in here. So the minute you start taking government money, you think that's going to be without strings? Do you think you'll be able to take, besides the hit you might take to your integrity, you don't think there's going to be strings? Do you think you will be able to use government money to preach an anti-government message? You don't think that you're going to be forced into whatever the zeitgeist is? We see that the right is just as censorious as the left. Y'all can pretend otherwise, but the woke right is a real thing. You don't think there's going to be strings attached to that you could just take the money and run? Wayne's upstairs right now. We're re-watching Game of Thrones, so I will do my Game of Thrones reference. Oh, my sweet summer child. You really believe that? Okay. Libertarian objections to public financing and contribution and spending limits are numerous. There is the obvious threat to free speech involved in limiting contributions and spending. The financing of politicians with money confiscated from taxpayers, most of whom could care less about the politicians, is repulsive. And the dollar checkoff on the income tax form is a fraud. Every taxpayer pays higher taxes because of the checkoff, so there's no choice involved. Everyone's like, oh, well, I get to the earmark for this. It doesn't reduce your tax burden. But even just pretend all of that is true. Do you really think that if everyone took the $3 off that the government's going to tighten its belt? We just saw what happened where they're doing this big bread and circuses show with Doge, and I like what Doge is doing. But then they turned around and passed the CR. So, come on. It's all smoke and mirrors and a distraction. Spending limitations tend to work to the advantage of incumbents who, according to a study by Americans for Democratic Action, already have a taxpayer finance advantage amounting to about $488,000 per year. I did mention this in the show that got... we're going to look one day on one of these shows. I don't know if they've changed their platform, but there's a party that started up in Colorado called the Unity Party. I don't know if they're in any other states. They might be in a couple others. It's fairly easy to start a party in Colorado. I know like Theory and stuff are trying to, that's a name, not theory as in the science, trying to screw our ballot access with top X, jungle primaries and all of that crap, and trying to poison pill our RCB. I went over that in other shows, but right now we have some of the best ballot access in the country, and I don't even know where. Oh, so it's easy to start a political party in Colorado. So the Unity Party started here, and I know him, and not personally, I knew him through social media and stuff like that. I don't know if he's still the chair, but he's a perennial candidate here as well. And they used to have a plank about incumbents running for a position and how that is tax financed if they're running for the same position that they have. We're going to look at that plank one day because I think that would be something kind of interesting for the LP to look at. Anyway, I did want to do that bit of a diversion. The new proposal makes it slightly easier for minor parties to get public money than the 1974 law providing public financing of presidential campaigns. But this does not help the Libertarian Party, whose principles do not allow it to take taxpayer money. 1977. What do you think whoever wrote that would think about our principles if they knew there were some folks saying Donald Trump is a libertarian president? We'll just leave it at that. Okay, in summary, public financing of congressional elections amounts to nationalizing the expression of political thought. Few prospects could be more frightening. I think I'm going to make this a little bit more modern and tweet out some of this. These are some good points. And I know a lot of libertarians disagree with me. I understand that. Love y'all. Not trying to... This is an opinion show. I'm going to give you my opinion. You like it, you don't like it. If you do like it, patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. Or if you like just getting mad at it. You know, just if you just enjoy seeing the pink-haired lady, just go off, you know. Patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. All right. Hatch Act relaxation. The Hatch Act is a measure passed in 1939 which limits the extent to which federal employees may participate in partisan politics, particularly as candidates or campaign financing. Oh, there's an interesting... I just saw a column here said LP action against public financing. We're not going to do that this show, this column. We're going to talk about this column, the next history one I do. Because obviously you can tell that's a subject that I'm pretty passionate about. Let me continue. It was passed after widespread evidence of coercion of WPA employees in Kentucky, including firing those who didn't declare themselves to be loyal Democrats, forcing... I was just looking at my email. My phone's right there now since I don't use it to film anymore. Where was I at? Oh, forcing employees to change their party registration. A person who... Now, here's what's funny. God, now... You know, libertarians who are like, oh my God, you were such a fireball before, you're such a radical. Now they're going to go, what do you, statist? Lick that boot. I know people who work for the government. I don't think everyone that works for the government is evil. I know, heresy. Certainly, there's plenty of evil people who do. But actually, Walter Block had something really interesting to say on this because he works at a publicly financed university in Louisiana, and he has some very interesting takes on this. But I have some friends here in Colorado that are lower level federal employees, so I don't necessarily agree with the very strong language that comes next, but we are reading this as it is, not as I wish it would be. And I know most libertarians will be like, yeah, but I don't know. The human factor gets in the way for me a little bit here just because I know some people and I wouldn't describe them this way. A person who takes his place at the public trough has a different status than an honest, productive citizen. To me, that calls everyone who may even remotely, and we all are taking money from the government. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit more softer on this. We're all being subsidized in one way or another, and I don't think that makes us dishonest. It's the system we're in right now. So I don't like that they're juxtaposing just very starkly here everyone else and people who directly have a government job who aren't productive, honest citizens. And I just don't think it's as black and white as that right now. It certainly can be with some jobs and some people, but as a blanket statement, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit too hippie to be softy right now. A bureaucrat is by definition a leech on society. I don't think everyone who works for the government is a bureaucrat, though. So maybe that's where we're differing here. Maybe I'm parsing it too strictly. And in addition, has a large vested interest in increasing the power and scope of government intrusion. The Hatch Act doesn't keep bureaucrats from voting. It simply prescribes certain kinds of partisan political activity. Very, very low-level people So it's punishing everybody because people with power were forcing even very low-level employees to change party registration or vote a certain way. Why don't you punish the people that were forcing? Maybe I don't know enough about the history of the Hatch Act, but something about it sits wrong with me as this blanket thing. I think it's too blunt of an object that it could be a little bit more surgical. Okay. Instant registration. We didn't get to this. My stream cut off before we could get to this last time. Opponents of instant registration point to the possibilities for widespread election fraud inherent in such a system. My problem with it isn't, well, of course I would have a problem with that, but my problem with instant registration is it doesn't allow you to be like a person, a voting is violence, I don't even want my name on a voter roll type person. Now, obviously, I'm not that. I'm involved in a political party, I vote. But I know plenty of people who don't, including a former chair of LP Colorado. And instant registering that person is doing something really, to them, very gross against their will. They also note that voter turnout has declined in the last 15 years as registration has been made progressively easier. Thus, there must be some other factor causing the decline in voter turnout. I could wish it's because we're all starting to realize it's illegitimate, but this was 1977. But I am inherently an optimistic person. So from a practical standpoint, nobody seems to know what effects this legislation would have on the current election laws of the 50 states. Would it make minor party registration and ballot status automatic? That would be cool if it did, right? Probably not. Would it make it easier for minor parties to get voters registered? Would it make it easier for what effect would it have on the requirements now current for minor parties to achieve ballot status? Nobody seems to be sure. It is likely that many of these issues would be fought out in the courts for years to come, creating great chaos among those trying to establish viable minor parties. Sounds right. The power implications. The entire Carter election reform package is calculated to increase the political power of organized labor, which hardly bodes well for the chances of libertarian ideals in the political arena. Instant voter registration would free up millions in union money for more direct political activity. That is interesting. Hatch Act relaxation would greatly increase the power, especially of public employee unions. Okay, that's a good point too, which, not surprisingly, are more militant than the rest of organized labor in demanding ever-increasing power for the central government. Public financing would let the IRS take over the burden of raising money for political candidates from unwilling taxpayers. Okay, that is all we're going to do for this time. It's just over half an hour. I think my camera test was successful. Next show, we are going to do on page 8, LP action against public financing. All right, that is, take those off. That is it for this. I want to stick my support thing back up here because I really appreciate it. Even, because I've been on Patreon a while. I think new people who set up Patreons, your minimum is higher. I still have $1 levels. Like, even to be a $1 a month patron, I appreciate you. And you do get, of course, I obviously appreciate you if you can afford to do a higher level as well. I was just letting you know it's $1 up. And you do get some exclusive content, which is my book discussions, but you get advance showing of Pink Parliamentarian and Jurassic Dictionary. Okay, everyone, I hope you have an awesome night. don't know. I think I'm going to be recording a patron-only book discussion tomorrow. But other than that, pretty soon will be the No True Scotsman show that I promised. I've got, for Jurassic Dictionary, I'm not going to tell you the word I found. It's actually a phrase, but it is great. It is so good. And I already told everyone what the next Pink Parliamentarian is going to be about. It's a little bit ranty about putting useless, confusing numbers in your credentials committee report. I don't even know if this is like Orthodox Roberts. This could just be a pet peeve of mine. I've got to do some research in Roberts and some other parliamentary authorities. All right, everyone. I hope you have an awesome night. Mi guapas de libertad.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.